So I feel like two of the most infamous pop culture freakouts of the 90s were, one, Jesse Spano being so excited on Saved by the Bell, and number two, Corey at Empire Records bringing Rex's lunch and then trashing the whole place. And frankly, been there. The type A manic freakout, oh, I've been there more times than I want to admit. Oh yeah. But energy management could have helped all of us type A anxiety queens of the 90s so much. So in my last video, I talked about why energy management is hands down the easiest way to wake up tomorrow and be more productive. Now we're gonna dig deeper into how to get started. And since this video, this whole series is all about finding your most productive time of day and making the most of it, I want you to comment below telling me what time of day you think your most productive time is now. And if you don't know, that's a sign you need energy management. So like I said in the first video of this series, the energy management concept is just all about putting your energy above your calendar or to-do lists. It is about understanding your own body and brain and routines and life well enough to then create personal productivity routines around that. And create routines that are catered to unicorn you instead of some one-size-fits-all framework that we learned 50 years ago. But before you can create all of those own personal systems for yourself around your energy, you really need to understand it. Because we have been told all these things we need to unlearn first, like that we are all most productive and creative in the morning, and we all get slumps in the afternoon and are useless at night. That's what we're told, right? And sure, that's obviously true for some people, but it's nowhere near as universal as we've always been told. Like I've talked about in one of my other videos, most of the productivity rules were written by a certain type of person for a certain type of lifestyle. And if that's not you, then that's not going to be a rule you want to follow. So instead of trying to make your life fit other people's rules and frameworks, the work writer approach is to write your own. And the first step that I like to get everyone started with is tracking their energy for a little bit so that you can understand it better. And here is my process for doing that in an energy management audit. So doing an energy management audit for a few days or just like a week is a really great way to get a true and accurate and current idea of what your energy levels really are. It's going to depend on your lifestyle, your physical health, your mental health, so many things that can all impact your productivity, impact each other, impact the world around you, so it's just always great to get a good picture of that. And to get started with an audit, all you really need is a piece of paper and a pencil to start writing down your entries throughout the day. In the past, I have done this in my bullet journal or just on a scrap piece of paper, whatever works. But when you're already on your computer a lot during the day, sometimes it can be easier to use a digital tool for this, which is why I now use an Airtable tracker. And if you want the Airtable template that I use for myself and that I offer in the Workwriter Clubhouse for tracking your energy, you can check out the description below. If Airtable is not your jam, you could use Google Sheets or a spreadsheet, just whatever you're already using, that's going to be the best place to track your energy. And you want to use the tracker a few times a day, just like 3-4 times a day, whatever, to check in on 3 things: your energy, your productivity, and your mood. It's really important that you take note of that. Even though it's called an energy management audit, you're tracking more than just your energy. You're tracking the 2 main things that interact with it too. Because when your energy is in a bad space, it doesn't really matter what else is going on. It doesn't matter how productive you want to be or how happy you want to be. It's really hard to be those things, even when it might objectively make sense. So when I'm doing an energy management audit for myself, I normally check in with myself 3 times a day, morning, noon, and night, pretty basic. And you track those 3 things and also just any notes that you might want to know for later that help give yourself more context. So maybe what work you were working on, anything that happened during that time block that isn't normal for you, anything that can help give you context later when you go back and look at the entries. And in terms of how many days to track, I like to do a little bit longer than a week, maybe like 10 days, just since that gives you a good picture of one kind of full cycle on the schedule, you know, on on a weekly calendar, but then also tracks like 2 different Mondays so that you get an idea of more than just that one Monday. And if you want to track it for longer, that's great too. I just don't want to make this seem too daunting for anyone to not do it. So a week is good, a month is great. And a week has certainly been more than enough time for me to get really big energy management realizations in the past. Because after you do that tracking, it's time to go back and look at the data. Dig into the analytics, your life analytics. And we'll be talking more about that in the next video in the series. But to give you a sneak peek of the types of realizations that you can get from looking back at your energy management audit, I want to share one of my own favorite examples from my personal life. So like a lot of you, I used to batch my calls and meetings to all happen on only 2 days a week. So this is at the time that I worked at a day job and I worked remotely, and so I only went into the office 2 days a week for these team meetings that we had, and I decided those would just be my general call and meeting days in general. That way on days that I worked remotely, I could just dig into the creative writing and other stuff that my content marketing job required. But around this time, I also went through a period where when I would sit down to write here at home on my days when I was working remotely, it would feel really freaking hard to write content. Way harder than it normally felt for me, because let's be honest, content and writing is my jam. And it wasn't until I did this energy management audit that I put those 2 different things together. The fact that I was batching calls and that content creation was getting harder. Because they were happening on different days. Why should they relate to each other, you know? But honestly, it was like a rookie mistake, especially as an introvert who I like to think has always been pretty attuned to my socialization limitations, or what I like to call my introvert wall. Of course, having 4 or 5 calls in one day would leave me tired and feeling drained the next when I was trying to knock out a lot of content. But because I was trying to follow that classic productivity rulebook and batch as much as possible, I was ignoring that part of myself until I really had the hard data in this audit to prove it. And before that, I had heard of energy management. I had kind of tried it before, but it wasn't until this time around, this time trying it, that I was completely sold on it and realized how life-changing it is. You know, you can't argue with numbers. And I guarantee that there is a big realization like that waiting for you on the other side of an energy management audit. I promise. Like I said before, I do have an energy management challenge that we do inside of the Work Brighter Clubhouse. And when we have done it, the Clubhouse members have just learned such amazing things about themselves that have made work and hobbies and life faster, easier, better. Not by making any huge changes, but just by paying more attention to their energy and mood and productivity all together in the same place. I like to call it unlocking your unicorn energy, because it really does feel like with just a small tweak, you have unlocked this whole other level of work and life. It's pretty awesome. And if you are ready to unlock your own unicorn energy for yourself, make sure to stay tuned for the next video in this series, all about tools to track your energy. And if you are ready to unlock your own unicorn energy, make sure to check out the description below. There is a link to my free energy management tracker for Airtable. There is a link to the whole energy management challenge, and you can also subscribe to check out the rest of the series on unlocking your own unicorn energy.